We continue now at the top of Daf Pei Gimel Amid Beis in Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 83b. On the previous summit, the Mishnah said that the Mizbeach is Mekadesh. The Mizbeach sanctifies Es Horoilo, what is fit for it. And there was a Machlokas Tanoim in the Mishnah what exactly that means. Rabbi Yoshua says it means that which is fit for the fire, meaning that which is going to be burned on the Mizbeach. So if it goes up on the Mizbeach, even if it's disqualified, it stays on the Mizbeach, it doesn't come down. But let's say items that are not going to be burned on the Mizbeach, let's say for example dam, blood, or let's say Nesachim, libations. So there we say that they do come down from the Mizbeach. Rabbi Gamliel disagrees. He says anything that's fit for the Mizbeach, including dam, including the Nesachim, all of those we say, im olu, once they go up on the Mizbeach, lo yerdu, they do not come down from the Mizbeach. And the Mishnah finished with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon makes a distinction between different kinds of libations, libations that come along with a carbon and libations that are on their own. We'll take a look at the top Rashi that addresses Rabbi Shimon's opinion. V'hanesachim yerdu, the libations, they do come down from the Mizbeach. She'ein Mizbeach mekadesh psulin, elo biboin biglal atzman. The only time the Mizbeach sanctifies what is disqualified is if it's brought on its own. Avol lo haboin biglal acherim. But if the nesachim are brought because of something else, because of the other karbonos, they come along with those karbonos, so then the Mizbeach is not mekadesh that. Kediyolef Rabbi Shimon Taimei b'Gemara, Rabbi Shimon is going to learn out his reason in the Gemara. And the Gemara says, Roy lo in, she'ein roy lo. The Mishnah said that which is fit for the Mizbeach is mekadesh, but if it's not fit for the Mizbeach, then the Mizbeach is not mekadesh it. L'mu'utei mai, what is that coming to exclude? Rashi explains, L'mu'utei mai shelo nira l'mizbeach l'divrei hakol. What does everyone agree is not considered to be fit for the Mizbeach? And the Gemara says, and this Rashi explained on the previous summit, Amar Rav Papa says, L'mu'utei kimotzin shelo kitshu b'kli. This comes to exclude kimotzin, which is the fistful of the karban mincha, if it wasn't sanctified in a vessel. So then we say, in such a situation, it is not fit for the Mizbeach. The Gemara continues, Ma'askif lo Ravina. Ravina asks on this, Ma'ishna midu ula, what's the difference between the kimotzin shelo kidshu and what Ula says? Diyamar Ula, because Ula says, a murei kodshim kalim, if you have the sacrificial portions of the kodshim kalim, of karbonos, of lesser kedusha, shehelon lifnei zrikas daman, let's say they were brought up on the Mizbeach before the blood was thrown, so lo yirdu, that does not come down from the Mizbeach, nasu lachmo shel Mizbeach, that becomes the bread of the Mizbeach. Now, why is that the case? Shouldn't that be the same as kimotzin, as the fistful that wasn't sanctified? And the Gemara answers it's different. Hanoch, in that situation, lo michsru maisa begufayu, it's not missing something in the item itself. But hani, when it comes to the kometz michsru maisa begufayu, it's missing something in the item itself, and that's why we say the Mizbeach is not mekadesh it. Rashi explains, Emurei kodshim kalim lefnei zrikas damon, again, the sacrificial portions of kodshim kalim before the blood is thrown, lo huvru lemizbeach, that is not really selected for the Mizbeach, shezrikas damon shalahen kovasan lechela kavo, because it's the throwing of the blood which says that it now becomes a portion of the Almighty, it belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, le'inyan me'ila, in terms of the laws of me'ila, it's only after the zrikas dam that there is me'ila. Masha ein kein bekodshei kodshim, and Rashi notes this is not true by kodshei kodshim, by the holier types of karbonos like carbon ola, shehein mitchilasan legavo, those from the outset they belong to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, veimurein olan lemizbeach, and their sacrificial portions go to the Mizbeach. Avol kodshim kalim, but when it comes to kodshim kalim, ein bohen meila, afilu beimurein, even the sacrificial portions of the kodshim kalim that are going to go on the Mizbeach, but before zrikas adam there is no meila. Kedetanya b'Toras Kohanim, like it says in Toras Kohanim, as kodshei Hashem hamiyuchadim l'Hashem, it has to be designated for Hashem, yatsu kodshim kalim, that excludes kodshim kalim. Avol la'achar zrikas damim, but when it comes to kodshim kalim after the throwing of the blood, yesh meila beimurein, at that point there is meila by the sacrificial portions, the nafkalan mivechol chaylev l'Hashem l'ravos emurei kodshim kalim la'achar zrikas damim l'meila. We learn that from the pasuk that again by emurei kodshim kalim after zrikas damim there is meila. But in any case, the point is va'afilu hachi kamar lo yirdu, but nevertheless, even before the zrika, it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach. And the Gemara answers begufayu, in a situation deifsulan bidavar acharu, in a situation where the psul is from something else, from something on the outside, so that is different. And we will take a look at the gears of the Shinui Nuschos, the Psulan Machmas Davar Acher, who again, when it comes to the Emurim of Kochim Kalim, there the disqualification is because of something else. The Hainu is Rikas Adam, meaning because of the Rikas Adam, since the blood wasn't thrown yet. And so therefore that's considered Lo Michsru Maisa Begufayu. That's why if it goes up to the Mizbeach, it doesn't come down. But by the Kometz, if it goes up to the Mizbeach, if the Kometz wasn't sanctified, if it goes up on the Mizbeach, then it does come down. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Rabbi Yoshua Omer Kol Haroi Leishim. Rabbi Yoshua again said if it's fit for the fire on the Mizbeach, so then we say that the Mizbeach sanctifies it. If it goes up on the Mizbeach, it doesn't come down. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Gamliel Nami Haksiv Ola Al Mokta. But Rabbi Gamliel also, what does he do with the pasuk of Rabbi Yoshua Ola Al Mokta, which we learn out again, that which goes on the fire of the Mizbeach? And the Gemara says, Ahula Adure Poken Hu Da'asr. Rabbi Gamliel uses that pasuk to say that let's say you have parts of the sacrificial portions that are being burned on the Mizbeach, and they become dislodged from the area where the fire is. How do you know you have to return them to the fire? Let's say they were just partially consumed. That's what we learn from this pasuk. You have to return those to the fire. Rashi explains, meaning the pasuk is not going according to Rabbi Gamliel on disqualified items on the Mizbeach. We're talking about, let's say you have something kosher and it gets dislodged from the area of the fire. You have to return it to the area where it was burning, where it was before. That's where you have to return it to. That's what Rabbi Gamliel does with this pasuk of Al Mokta. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, in the other opinion, meaning Rabbi Yoshua, where does he know, Lahadure Poken Minole, from where does he know you have to return that which becomes dislodged? And the Gemara says, Nafgalei me asher tochal ho'esh. He learns it from a different pasuk. It says, Asher tochal ho'esh, that teaches us this halacha. Rashi explains, Asher tochal ho'esh kro yiseiru. This is an extra pasuk. The pshita, the deshen me asher tochal ho'eshu. Obviously, the deshen, obviously the ashes come from what's consumed by the fire. Ela lidrasha asa, rather this pasuk is for a drasha. Asher tochal ho'esh v'sifkem ha'ola me'al ha'mizbeach chazor v'halem al ha'mizbeach. It means again, let's say it becomes dislodged. It was only partially consumed. You have to bring it back up upon the Mizbeach. That's where Rabbi Yoshua learns this halacha. And so the Gemara says, V'idach, and the other Tana, Rabbi Gamliel, what does he do with this pasuk, Asher tochal ho'esh? And he says that the Gemara says, Ahumi boile lechule ola atamachzir v'atamachzir ikule ketores. It teaches us a different halacha, that if you have partially consumed parts from a carbon ola, you return it to the fire. But let's say the ketores, the incense, which is burned on the inner mizbeach, it's burned on the golden mizbeach inside of the hechel, so that if you have something that gets dislodged, you do not return it to the fire. Titani Rabbi Chanina bar Menyume Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Rabbi Chanina bar Menyume Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov teaches Asher tochal ho'esh ha'ola al ha'mizbeach. Again, the pasuk says Asher tochal ho'esh. That's this pasuk. Ikule ola atamachzir v'atamachzir ikule ketores. You return the partially consumed from the ola, that you return to the fire, but that is not true by the ikule ketores. That is not true by the incense that was partially consumed. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, now the other opinion, meaning Rabbi Yoshua, where does he learn this distinction between Ichulei Ola and Ichulei Ketores? And the Gemara says, La'af Memela, Shma Amina, don't we learn that automatically? The Ichulei Ola, Mahadrinan, because again, if we're learning from this pasuk, that Lahadure Poken, we're learning that that which is dislodged is returned, so that teaches that the partially consumed from the Ola is returned, and that would not apply to the Ketores, that would not apply to the incense. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Gamliel Omer Kol Haroi. Rabbi Gamliel said anything that's fit for the Mizbeach, again, if it goes up upon the Mizbeach, it does not come down. The Mizbeach is Mekadesh, and that includes even items that are not burned on the Mizbeach, like Dam and like Nesachim. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Yoshua Nami Haksiv Mizbeach. Rabbi Yoshua also, the pasuk says Mizbeach. That's what Rabbi Gamliel learns from, that anything that's fit for the Mizbeach. And the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Yoshua, Hahumi boile mai ko'amar achmana. That's needed because what is the pasuk saying? It means kol haroi lemokta mekadesh mizbeach. Again, it means anything that's fit for the fires of the mizbeach. That's what the mizbeach is mekadesh. V'idach, in the other opinion, Rabbi Gamliel, what does he respond? Mizbeach achrinoksiv. It actually says mizbeach another time, and so he learns from there. V'idach, in the other opinion, Rabbi Yoshua, what does he do with the other mizbeach? So chad lahecha dehaisa la shas hakosher. One is for a situation where there was a time when it was fit for the mizbeach, v'chad lahecha de lo haisa la shas hakosher, and then the other one is also for a situation where it never had a time where it was fit for the mizbeach, But the Gemara says, V'idach, the other opinion, Rabbi Gamliel, he responds to that, Kevan de psulin ninu, since all of these cases we're talking about things that are disqualified for the Mizbeach, V'ravinu rachman, and yet the Torah is including them, that they stay on the Mizbeach, so lo shna haisa lo shasa kosher, lo shna lo haisa lo shasa kosher. It wouldn't make a difference if it had a time when it was fit, or if it didn't have a time when it was fit. We do not need an additional pasuk for that. And Rashi explains, Mekadesh Mizbeach, the Mizbeach sanctifies it. This is going on Rabbi Yoshua's opinion. Rabbi Yoshua uses the pasuk to teach that Kol Haroi Lamok, to anything that's fit for the fires of the Mizbeach, Mekadesh Mizbeach, the Mizbeach sanctifies it. And Rashi explains what that means. L'lamedcha detaima shelo yered mishum kedushas Mizbeachu. The pasuk is teaching you that the reason it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach is because of the sanctity of the Mizbeach. Mizbeach achrina ksiv, and then the Gemara said that according to Rabbi Gamliel, there's another Mizbeach that's written that teaches us that idea. It says, Kol hanogea b'mizbeach yikdash, anything that touches the Mizbeach is sanctified. And then the Gemara said that according to Rabbi Yoshua, the reason why you have it two times is shasa kosher, is one for the shasa kosher, meaning let's say lahaktara lifnei psula, let's say it was fit to be burned on the Mizbeach before being disqualified. Could go in lon v'yotze v'tame, for example, it's left overnight, or it goes outside the proper area, or becomes impure, or in lo haisalo shasa kosher, then you have a situation where it was never fit, meaning nishchat chutz lizmano v'chutz l'mkamo, was slaughtered for outside the proper time, or outside of the proper place. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Hazevach kosher v'chulu. Again, Rabbi Shimon makes a distinction between different kinds of nesachim. And the Gemara brings a brisa elaborating on Rabbi Shimon's opinion. Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Ola. It says in the pasuk, Ola. Ola haba biglal atzma, just like a carbon ola is brought on its own. It's not accompanying anything else. Af kol haboin biglal atzman, so too, the Mizbeach is mekadesh, that which comes on its own. Yatsu nesachim, it excludes libations. Boyin beglal zevach, when you have libations that come together that accompany a carbon, so there we say the Mizbeach is not mekadesh, and if they are disqualified and they go up on the Mizbeach, then those kinds of nesachim do come down from the Mizbeach. And the Gemara continues, the Brisa says, Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, Mitoch shenemar kol hanogea b'mizbeach yiktosh, since it says in the pasuk anything that touches the Mizbeach is sanctified, shomea ani bein roy uvein she'eno roy, one might think whether it's fit for the Mizbeach or not. Talmud lomar, the pasuk says kivosim, it says lambs, ma kivosim ru'uyin, just like kivosim are fit for the Mizbeach, af kol roy, so too, this applies to that which is fit for the Mizbeach. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says ola, the pasuk says ola, ma'ola ru'uya, just like an ola is fit for the Mizbeach, af kol ru'uya, so too, only things that are fit for the Mizbeach. And the Gemara clarifies what the machlokas here is. My beinayu, what is the difference between Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Akiva? Amar Ravada Barava, Ravada Barava says, ola sa'of pesula, ika beinayu. The difference is, let's say you have a bird carbon that's disqualified. There's a question, again, that's the machlokas between them, whether the Mizbeach is mekadesh that or not. Mar maisi la me'ola, one learns from ola, and therefore that would apply to ola sa'of as well, according to Rabbi Akiva, who learns from ola. So by ola sa'of pesula also, that goes on the Mizbeach is mekadesh it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach. Umar maisi la mikvasim, in the other opinion, meaning to say Rabbi Yossi HaGalili, he learns from kvasim. Kvasim are animals, not birds, and so this halach applies to animal karbanos and does not apply to bird karbanos, according to Rabbi Yossi HaGalili. And the Gemara continues, Ulamanda maisi la min kvasim. Now, according to the one who learns from kvasim, meaning Rabbi Yossi HaGalili, haksiv ola, but it is written ola, what does he do with ola? And the Gemara explains, iksiv kvasim velo ksiv ola, if it wrote kvasim and not ola, havamina afilo mechayim. I might think even if the animals are alive. Kasav rachmana ola, that's why the pasuk says ola. It has to be, as Rashi says, misharoi lalos, it has to be fit to go up on the Mizbeach, and that would not apply to live animals. Ulamanda maisi le me'ola, and the one who learns from ola, that's Rabbi Akiva, haksiv kvasim, but the pasuk does say kvasim. What does he learn from kvasim? What does Rabbi Akiva learn from kvasim? And the Gemara says, iksiv ola, if it just wrote ola, velo ksiv kvasim, it didn't say kvasim. Hava mina afilu mincha, I would think it includes even a carbon mincha. Kasav rachmana kvasim, that's why the pasuk writes kvasim, and therefore we understand from there that it does not include a carbon mincha. And the Gemara now asks, "My ika bein hani tanoi lahani tanoi demasnis." And what's the difference between these tanoim that we just quoted, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi Haglili, and the tanoim of our Mishnah? And the Gemara says, "Amar Rav Papa says, kimotzim shekidshu bekli." The difference is, let's say you have the fistfuls from Karban Mincha that were sanctified in a vessel. Ika beinayu. That's the difference between them. L'tanoi didon, for the tanoim of our Mishnah, as we said earlier, lo yerdu. So there, once it was sanctified in a vessel, that's considered fit for the mizbeach, and so it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach. Once it goes up on the Mizbeach, it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach. But l'tanoi de masnisa, but for the tanoim of the Braisa, for Rabbi Yossi Haglili, Rabbi Akiva, again, they said that we exclude Karban Mincha, so therefore yerdu, therefore they do come down from the Mizbeach. And the Gemara continues, Amar Reish Lakish says, Mincha haba b'fnei atzma. Reish Lakish here is summarizing, let's say you have a Karban Mincha that's coming on its own. L'divrei kulan lo teired, according to everyone's opinion, meaning according to everyone's opinion in our Mishnah, lo teired, it doesn't come down from the Mizbeach, as we said. L'divrei Rabbi Yossi Haglili for Rabbi Akiva, but according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili and Rabbi Akiva, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Pei Dalid Amud Aleph.